Welcome, my fellow cultists.
This video is going to be a shorter video where I tell and show everything that's been changed/added in the new 1.08 Nioh 2 patch. As always, like and subscribe if you enjoy my content and want to see more. I stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If you want to come in and ask any questions or just hang out and have some Nioh 2 fun. Let's get to it! So, one of the first and biggest changes is the enemies in the dojo will now scale up depending on your progress in the game. This means you can better test your builds and whatnot, especially in New Game Plus, but even throughout the game, because enemies won't just start getting easier and easier to kill in the dojo. This does not mean they level to you, so if you never progress in the game, or if you've already beaten the game and you're like at the level 300 cap, they probably are a bit easier for you still. They've also made a ton of Yokai ability changes, aka changes to the abilities you get when you use Yokai Souls, which is typically the R2 and triangle, square, and X buttons. The first soul they changed was Gyuki, which is the giant bull snake boss that you fight. His attack will now hit easier. When I was using it, I didn't notice a huge difference, but it's nice that they increased the hitbox. Pasha, which is the fire wheel chick, she's got 2 wheels. She like runs on fire and throws a whip at you. Her soul, which summons a spinning wheel at enemies, does less damage, but it does cost less anima now, so maybe it's more useful just to like hit on people because it's pretty decent multiple hit. Daidera Bochi, which is the giant tree boss, where his is a head comes out of the ground and shoots a laser, and now goes in a full 360, which I absolutely love because it will hit people in front of it and hit more people in an area. It isn't completely useless if the person is standing directly in front of you. Shuten Dojo, which is the giant drunken yokai boss. He's the guy who's got the giant like mace thing and drinking bottle. His yokai soul lets you drink the bottle and then spew fire. It's a lot easier to hit and has a lower recovery period. I actually did not like this soul before this update because I felt like because of the high recovery period, you're almost always going to get hit and it doesn't flinch people, but now with the lower recovery period, a lot easier to actually use in combat. Agatasu Warrior's soul has been updated. That's the yokai that a lot like to call General Grievous, or he's the yokai with a bunch of arms and swords. His soul ability is you send projectile slices at the enemy. They've increased the damage of this and lowered the recovery, which makes it just a lot nicer and easier to use in combat. They also updated the Toxic Slime and Lesser Umibozo slime soul abilities. The Toxic Slime is the slime that shoots poison. The Lesser Umibozo is the water slime. The Toxic Slime shoots a poison shot. The water slime shoots a water shot. Now, both of these can be rapid fire if you rapidly press the button, which is great for building up poison or water on enemies, and they have a lower recovery period, so even if you only use them once, a lot more feasible. Gaki, which is the basic enemy in the game, he looks like Golem or Gremlin, whatever. His soul, which sends him on to the enemies, they bite him, doing tiny bits of damage, a little bit of key damage, also giving you Amrita on bite, now gives you more Amrita. I didn't really notice a huge difference to my Amrita gauge. Maybe you get more actual Amrita and not Amrita gauge. I don't know, this didn't seem like a big change to me. Amanba, which is the creepy old lady that's got the knives that dashes at you. Her soul core has you slice the knives and then you dash at an enemy. This also gives you an increase in attack for a short amount of time. It doesn't take as long to start up, and the buff of increased attack now lasts longer, which makes it a generic, better ability now. This next one is Tesso, which is the giant rat. I don't really understand the change they made to this. They said they increased the number of hits, but the soul actually just makes you fart a gas that hits enemies. That seems to only hit enemies once, so I don't know what they meant by increasing a number of hits. Arsu Tengu, the giant raven/crow yokai with the eyes in the chest and the giant spear thing. His is you go up into the air and you smash down. They increased the damage and lowered the recovery period. This makes a huge difference for me because I always felt like when using that ability, you were very susceptible to being hit because of how long you're stuck in it. With the lowered recovery period, it's a lot nicer, and also the increased damage, of course. Musume Yazura, which is the yokai that's made of like a bunch of different body pieces of humans and arms and legs and heads and stuff. Its soul ability is it shoots out beams in all directions of the elements of your guardian spirit. It made the attack hit more easily. I didn't really have an issue with it before, but it's nice. If you did have an issue, this will be better. Roku Rakubi, which is the yoki that pretends to be a human, and then when he gets low enough ki or health, his head pops out and it's got like this giant snake-like neck. And the yokai ability is your head pops out and spins around and hits enemies around you. It now does more hits, which is just nicer because I feel like it kind of sticks you in that move for a little bit, so more hits is better. Aberrant Soldier, which is the human-like yokai that have the giant arm with crystals on it that shoot meteors at you. Their soul ability has your arm turn into that and shoot a meteor. They lowered the recovery period of that, so it's a lot more feasible to shoot someone and avoid a hit. Doesn't stick you in it as long. Nicer in general. The Kodama soul. The Kodama are the little guys that you find in each level for your shrine. To get their soul, in case you're curious, you have to give a Sodama a soul, and he'll have a chance of giving you a Kodama soul back. Their ability is it throws a little rocket at an enemy, has a chance of spawning an elixir when you hit them. They've increased the chance of that elixir, which is super nice, making the ability just more feasible in general. Gozuki, which is the giant bull minotaur you see at the very beginning of the game. He's not the boss, but he's like the guy at the beginning, and he's a boss in other levels and whatnot. His soul ability, which has you turn into him, run forward, and bull ram someone, now flinches all things. Yokai, humans, everything alike, which is huge because there's not many things in this game that does that. But they did increase the cost to 7 to kind of counterbalance that. One-Eyed Oni, which is the giant Cyclops yokai that throws rocks at you, his soul ability is you turn into him and you spin around. They made it hit more easily, but they did decrease the damage. But they also decreased the cost, which I kind of like better because I felt like it never really did that much before, and it cost a lot. Now it only costs 6, and I kind of enjoy it. Yatsei no Kame, which is the giant snake boss in the first region, his soul ability is you summon a smaller version of him that runs at people and bounces off walls. They greatly nerfed it. Now it can only be bounced 3 times off a wall instead of 4 times. I don't really see this as a big issue because getting it to bounce off a wall 4 times would have to require such a tiny space, which doesn't happen very often. And they did also increase the animal cost because it just seemed like a really strong ability. Otakimaru, which is the main bad guy's soul, that's all I'm going to say to avoid spoilers. It makes giant swords fall down from the sky of all 3 elements, lightning, water, and fire. And the Carcassa umbrella, which is the umbrella yokai with the single eye, that the yokai ability has you turn into the umbrella and shoot little paralysis sticks everywhere. Both do less damage to huge bosses. This is probably due to the fact that they could get a lot more hits than most yokai abilities on huge bosses. So this includes Gayuki, the giant bull spider boss, Lady Osakabe, the giant house boss, and Didara Boshi, the giant tree boss. They also do less damage to Amrita shards you found in levels, and I'm assuming they probably also do less damage to shards found on bosses and other things like the giant tree's hands. They've increased the soul drop rate for many souls, which is so great because some of these are a lot harder to find. They increased the soul drop rate for all the Onibis, which are the floating skulls, the fire floating skull, the water floating skull, and the thunder floating skull, which is great because their soul abilities enchant your weapon with their elements, so they're super useful. The umbrella's soul is also increased, and the flying bolt woman, which is the woman that flies around with rags that shoots them at you, have all been increased. So this is really nice because some of these were a lot more difficult to find, and now they won't be. Level sync is now applied for all the tutorial missions. This includes basic actions, Yokai Brute, Yokai Feral, and Yokai Phantom. It doesn't actually mean that much because you can't bring in your own gear, but that means it will level you down stats-wise. So I guess if you went into those tutorial missions at end-game content, you might have been completely destroying all the enemies too quickly to actually learn anything. There are many changes to some skills in the patch as well. For the sword skill True and Through, which is a hidden skill you get from Ozzy Nagamasa, which is the boss with a single bird wing. Until he goes in the dark realm, he has 2 bird wings, and he's like blocking the whole time. And it's the ability where you charge a stab by holding down the strong attack button. It now does a lot more damage at max charge than it used to, which is a lot nicer. It seems to be doing almost double the damage than it would without a max charge. A bunch of spear skills also got changes. Rainbow Ruse, which is the skill that lets you pulse and dodge if you press a direction when you pulse, can now be customized to be elemental or have extra damage, etc. Although I don't really see the point of this because I didn't even know it did damage. It only does a very small amount of damage if you key pulse near an enemy and dodge into them, sort of. The next 2 skills are hidden skills you get from Made Toshi, which is a solo boss mission at the end of the game with a spear. He wears the yellow armor, and he helps a lot at the beginning of the game as an ally. First one is Triple Threat, which is an attack where you stab 3 times. You start by pressing block and strong attack, and then you press strong attack on each stab. The interesting part about this one is you can actually press it and key pulse at the same time between stabs, and if you do it on the key pulse, it makes it a stronger, different attack. They made it easier to key pulse, and they made it deal more damage if you time it right. I could get the second one pretty well, but the third hit was still kind of difficult to time. Racing Bees is the mid-stance hidden skill that lets you block and press quick attack, and you do this kind of blocking move. If you deflect someone's attack with that, you can press quick attack to attack back. If you don't, you can press quick attack again to just do a follow-up attack. They lowered the startup and recovery period of the first kind of swirling of the spear to improve the timing for the follow-up press, just making it easier to make sure you're able to do the follow-up press. I didn't have any issues with this new version, so I think it's probably better than it used to be. The axe skill Bear's Bane, which is an AoE attack that you use by pressing block and strong attack, and it has you stick the axe in the ground and shockwave some debris up, can now have elements with its customization. Kind of shocked me that it couldn't before, but nice if you use an axe and you use that ability. It was pretty good, I noticed, from building up elements on enemies if I just spammed it. So not a bad ability at all for that. Tonfa skills got a couple changes. Storm of Strikes, which is a hidden skill from Hanzo from the dojo. He's the ninja that trains you in the final dojo missions. You can utilize this ability by holding strong attack, and it does like a 3-hit combo. It can now have elements. And Sweeping Kick, which is a mid-low stance strong attack after a quick attack, can also now have elements. Neither of these really seemed that great at building up elements, but maybe if you need like a tiny bit of element, this is nice to have. The Demon Dance skills, which for the Tonfa is when you do a key pulse, it does this tiny dodge, making you invulnerable for like half a second. Have a lot more time to flux now, so you can flux after the Demon Dance is done, which just makes it a lot easier for you Tonfa users to flux. Both Switchglaive Mystics Arcs build up a passive that if you get to 5, you can hold hold quick attack to do an extra attack. This attack has less startup and does more damage, which is a lot nicer because it makes it easier to pull off and makes it more damaging. The mystic art for magic called Awakening, which increases your casting speed, now does it even more so for self-casting. So you can cast spells on yourself at a ridiculously fast rate that makes it a lot more easy to use in combat. Gunpowder and shrapnel bomb, which are the usable items for ninjutsu, not the ones you prep, will now trigger ninjutsu hit effects like life drain, anima charge on ninjutsu hits. What's interesting is this does not hold true for any of the magical items like enchantments and guardian skills, although I did notice that that doesn't hold true for magical enchantments or guardian skills even if you prep them, which is weird because those are hits of magic damage that you've done because they give you proficiency for the magic, but they don't give you magic hit for life drain or anima charge. Critical Yokai Shift Dark Realm, which is the ability that transforms you into Yokai Shift if you are going to die in a Dark Realm and your Amrita gauge is full, will now play the animation of transforming instead of just making you a yokai, and it won't get rid of any enchantments anymore, which is a huge deal because it used to work just like quick change in the sense quick change is the ninjutsu ability that if you were to die, come back, and if you had quick change, you would lose quick change when you transformed to yokai, which sucked because it was like having 2 lives, but it didn't work. And now you can also have other enchantments that you don't lose when you yokai shift. Super useful. Hope they bring that over to quick change because it would be awesome if quick change also didn't get rid of your enchantments. They improved the range indicator. I think what they added is the dot in the middle changing color. I'm just going to go over the whole way it works because I didn't actually know all the specifics before this patch. The color of the outline determines the distance to the target. If the outline is yellow, you're the farthest distance away. If it's red, your average distance is. If it's bright red, you're within close combat range. The closer you are, the more damage you do. If the dot in the middle is red, then you are targeting a weak point. Sadly, there is no way to see if they have a helmet or if they've noticed you yet. I hope they add at least a way to tell helmets because it's annoying not knowing if you should use a bow or a gun depending on if they have a helmet. Azai Nagamasa, which as I said before is the boss with 1 wing and then 2 wings in the Dark Realm, and he blocks a lot. He no longer falls into a pattern when a certain distance from him. I think what they're referencing here is in the Dark Realm, if you were a certain distance from him, he used to just fly up, do his little projectiles, dash at you. And he no longer does that repetitively. Sometimes he'll try to slice you or dash at you on the ground. They fixed a couple issues, which I will go into the most important ones, but if you want to see all the fixes, because most of them are very specific, check the patch notes, which are linked in the description below. They fixed an issue where level sync isn't being correctly applied to yokai skill damage. I did notice this before, that if you were level synced via playing with another person or just applying level sync to yourself, your yokai abilities would still do massive damage. So hopefully that seems to be fixed. They also fixed an issue where it would still display your friend's damage numbers even when you have display ally damage set to off. This is huge to me because I would rather not see it most of the time so that I can focus on my own numbers. So glad they put that in for other players, not just NPCs. They also fixed an issue where certain yokai enemies could not be yokai shift grappled when burst countered. This is done by burst countering an enemy down to his down state and then pressing the grapple button exactly right after it so that it forces you to grapple him as a yokai. It's a really cool effect, but some enemies fell too slowly so you couldn't do this. I noticed this with the one-eyed Oni, that it now teleports them instantly to the ground so that you can still yokai grapple them, which is awesome. Another fix is they fixed an issue that skill and unarmed damage increase were being applied to some of the yokai abilities. I heard rumors of people being able to do this with Enra and Ippon. Enra being the tornado boss of fire and Ippon being the guy with the giant hammer, sometimes with a giant sword and pogo sticks on it. Both their souls could have unarmed damage applied to it, and people were using that to get insane amounts of damage. That wasn't really intended. But due to this, thanks to I Am Not Trash and So Are You on YouTube's video, I found out that unarmed damage is now being applied incorrectly. If it says you have like a 300%, you only have like a 200% increase. It's about 64% as effective as the game claims, which is a huge issue, which I hope they fix as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about anything I said, or if I said something wrong, please let me know in the comments down below, or happen to my Twitch stream. I stream every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content, don't forget that like button and subscribe.
And I hope you all have a death-filled day.
Oh no, what the freak? No! Controller has died! Run! Oh god, oh god. Other controller. I lived.